Yeah, I figure a lot of people that come to you are more deep in a realization process than I am. I am simply trying to find footing in that direction because my other more practical, usual life situations they're just kind of crumbling on me. They don't make a whole lot of sense right now. Um,
Okay.
and I want to make sure that I'm not looking towards realization as some sort of way to flee that,
Mhm.
or and I want to make sure that I'm even capable and that I'm even that things are going in an order that makes sense,
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I guess I'll just give you word vomit right now if that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, that I'm starting out how my character tends to work and what his worldview is and kind of how he feels. And I just have a few notes here that are not in any particular order, but the first thing I notice is I have a very, very, very strong ego. I'm sure that's me, but I have really strong egoic desires for what I want to do, and a desire for a superior self-image and a superior lifestyle by whatever measure that is coming from. And I tend to just judge basically everything and everyone on a reactionary way. It doesn't seem to come from a place where I process it. And despite that, I judge literally every put a filter over it that could only be seen from my perspective. I don't even particularly seem to like myself. So I don't know why I'm giving myself so much of that authority, right? Because every time I talk to myself, I don't really like the way that I feel or the way that I think about things. So I don't really know why um, I'm giving myself priority to not like so many other things, right? Um, I feel extremely stuck right now in the sense that I don't know any other routes through life than I already know, right? I know my business route. I know uh, a route where I could make music. I know a route where I could focus on um, a romantic relationship. I know a route where I could start a business, and I know a route where I could go all in on just hopping on the path, which feels like the most appropriate route for me to take, considering I have the freedom of choice right now. Um, but I'm incredibly indecisive on making any of these choices. I don't have any discipline to make any of these choices for even an entire. I have I have not even practiced building one of my business ideas for an entire day for a year or so. I haven't just done Vipassana or anything like that for an entire day. I haven't even self contemplated. I haven't made music for an entire day. And I don't know how to gain the motivation to want to do anything like that, so that I may see it through to fruition. And I don't even appear to have the attention span. Also notice that my attention span is just getting annihilated lately, whether it's by um, the external stimulus that we face and that we choose to consume. I mean, I can block out limitless thoughts by just satisfying my short attention span with technology or uh, habits, mostly bad, or just tasks like just clean this, don't think about this, just go clean that, go follow this task, go do this chore. Don't sit and think, right? Because if you think, my thoughts, and it seems to me like they loop and they never reach any conclusion. And uh, they don't even go that deep, right? They're just like the surface level of whatever thought I'm thinking.
Mhm.
And that's if I'm thinking about something anxiously, like a desire that I have for the future, or if I'm even trying to do my best at a self contemplation. I get to a point where a surface level thought comes by, and then I believe to understand what I'm saying about myself, or that I figured something out and I just can't go any deeper than, and then it just shifts to a new thing that isn't even on subject. And that, I mean, that just appears to be the nature of thoughts, right? Like, I don't think there's anything distinct about that, but I don't particularly know how to grab on to anything that would give me a foundation to move forward on right now. I've basically just been stuck in limbo for a few months, and I'm very lucky to have the opportunity to do that. But at the same time, I find it hard to just accept that, or to say like, oh, this is just right. That doesn't feel appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And I know everything I just said there was quite surface level too. There's no depth to it, so that doesn't really help your understanding. But ultimately, that's just how I feel. Like, I don't tend to care as much about the things I used to care about, but I still hold them very tightly. And I don't have the discipline to act on any of the things I care about right now.
A few things come to mind. Lastly, motivation versus inspiration. But first, thoughts. This might sound surprising to you initially. And can you hear me just fine? Okay.
Of course.
My experience of thoughts is exactly the same as your experience of thoughts. There aren't any surface level and deep thoughts. Surface level is a thought, and deep thoughts is a thought. It's the thought that there are deep thoughts. What's probably experienced differently is how it is that the thoughts are consistent, or what it is that binds them. So, like, if you were, let's say you were about to have something to eat, and you go to a cafe and there's tomato soup and potato soup, right? And then the thought comes up as a preference, tomato soup. And then another thought can come up, I chose the tomato soup. Then it seems like what binds all the thoughts is the chooser, or the ego. In your direct experience right now, do thoughts appear and then disappear? Sorry, did you say yeah?
Yeah.
My mic, it froze for a minute.
I thought I got it wrong, but yeah, in my direct experiences, thoughts appear and then disappear, and that they aren't chosen, and they aren't asked for, and they're definitely something that comes and goes.
Mm-hmm. So do you see how there's a certain facade when the thought comes at the end, which claims that it's responsible for the thoughts or the choosing or the doing, then it seems that what they all have in common is that they're all my thoughts. Another experience of thoughts is the only thing that the thoughts have in common is the same substance is appearing as a thought and then disappearing. And then the same substance appears as another thought, and then the thought disappears. Have you had the experience of the substance when it's not a thought?
The substance in which the thoughts arise, or
Yeah, and slightly more specifically, the substance which is being the thoughts. So not that there's a separate thing called thoughts, which appears in something, in a substance, but the very substance which is appearing as the thoughts.
I hesitate to say yes, but my intuition says it's likely. I just can't quite put my finger on that right now.
Okay. And it's not meant to be a trick question, but it's sort of inherently a trick question, because then the thought arises about if right.
Is if it's like this without any thought of the thoughtlessness taking place, then I've experienced that plenty of times, but I'm not quite sure that's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think thoughtlessness kind of points to it. Peacefulness, I think, also points to it. So I guess I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way, that to really dispel any notion that Phil's experiencing these deeper thoughts. Phil's experiencing thoughts exactly like everybody experiences thoughts. It seems that there's a lot of thoughts as categories. Business/income, the path, relationship, and then surely just recreational activities, things for fun, etc. And it seems like there is a stuckness in a which one scenario. So first, try to be stuck on purpose. Like it, in whatever sense comes to mind. Right now, try to purposefully be stuck. Can you do it?
I get it.
How so?
I do get that. Because when this call concludes, it will be possible for me to be stuck and aware of it, and without the desire to particularly have to do anything about it. I think I can do that.
Well, I'm suggesting that in a few seconds, you will never be able to believe that you're stuck again. By trying to be stuck right now. By trying to be stuck on purpose.
When I receive a pointer like that, I don't know where the inward shift happens or where to place my awareness, or if that's just supposed to be a like a turning koan type situation. A lot of times when I receive a pointer, I don't specifically know what to. What's going to sound silly, but it's like I don't know what to think, right?
Yeah, or there, where do you go to try to be stuck? What do you,
I don't know. I don't know where you go.
Right. And that is the point. You're definitely getting it. That's the point. Neither does anyone else. There is nowhere. It's not possible. Even if you sit and do nothing and like freeze and do nothing and even hold your breath, you're freezing, sitting and holding your breath. It's not possible to do nothing. And it's also, reality has an isness to it that it just continues. It's in its entirety, it's a continuum. There literally is no such thing as stuck. So there's some indecision. but what comes to mind is in the things that you named, why one of them? Why not all of them?
The immediate thing that comes to mind is that with thoughts, the problem with them that I have with them is that they don't stay long enough and go in a chain enough that helps and influences me to see something to fruition, even just, you know, partially. And so I like all of my, I like, and they come from a place of my genuine passions. I just can't seem to get any traction right now.
Well, we're
Yeah,
on this
why not all of them?
We're talking to each other. You orchestrated that. This is it. This is what fruition looks like.
This is because I have immense faith and this kind of warm intuition about a number of acted with, or even that I haven't interacted with, and I've only seen them on YouTube or whatever, to where I see something in you that, even though I am, unfortunately, and I don't know how to break this, like, dogmatic about the awakening process, my I hesitate to even say faith, because it's a more substantial feeling than that. Towards some teachers, it cannot be wavered. So to establish a call with you, I do it every day, and there would be no backlash, at least that I can foresee. But to, like, go make a song right now and just get my ass kicked by that for 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours, that's just misery. I don't see where that goes. This doesn't have a purpose. This doesn't have to have an end to me. This is just joyful.
Well, and then how is this different from the music?
I think I don't have an expectation of a result on this. I know that one side of, but the other side of me does not. I don't see what the result could possibly be, because I don't expect to, like, flash awaken or anything like that. I'm simply just talking about what is.
Well, the desired result would be you enjoying making music.
Yeah.
So that, but what comes to mind in the comparison is the desired result, which is not an uncommon challenge with creating anything like music. So let's start with just one song. In the getting more unstuck in the bigger picture, right? In all categories. If you recorded one song, what would you do with it? What's it for?
At this point, it's not particularly for anything, although it comes with a lot of emotional weight to it, because that used to be my primary desire for a career, right? And so the emotional weight is that I'm following the rubric that I did back when that was my desire, and I'm holding myself to the same very high standards. I'm still comparing myself to peers because I want it to sound equivalent or better. I can personally hear I can hear that it's never really done, because I can always make it better. And those factors become an emotional jaunt.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an example of something that is done?
like music wise.
Yeah, I mean, when you say it's never really done, what would done even be?
That's the hard part, is because with any of the songs I finished in the past, I don't feelings towards them. I listen to them and I think, well, this was made when I was even more amateur. I can hear the gaps, or I can hear the mistakes, or I can hear the tonal balancing problems.
Mhm.
And so listening to something that is done in progress, there is no difference to me. It still flies well under my bar of where I would like to be. And this I don't even hold that highly anymore, as much as I used to, because I don't really need a career out of this anymore. I've kind of let go of that, but that was peaceful. That's fine.
Mhm. So then the answer would be, when the song is done, the purpose would be to make income, to make money from it. It's career related, or was.
It was the purpose. Now would be to just like the song and to like enjoy and to have enjoyed the process. But ultimately, I would really like to look at the product and say, like, damn, that was a good amalgamation of my time and the emotional struggle. There's something timeless about it to me, for my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the enjoying the creating, really.
And so anytime I'm working on a song and the enjoyable, right? If something's like, wow, like this is so much further behind than I thought it was. This is just tough. I don't know, why am I still working on this idea? Oh, it's because of sunken cost fallacy. Then all of a sudden you can see how no matter what result would come of it, it look back on it and you didn't fully enjoy the process. And I don't know if that just needs like a mind tinkering, a reshift, or what that is.
Well, when the thought arises that in hindsight you didn't enjoy the process, the thought points to a past, which there isn't. All there is the thought, and the enjoyment can't be in the past. It can only be right now, because feeling can only be right now. That seems like that's the root of categorically everything, not just the music, but everything. The thought, that feeling, could be or was in a past, or could be or is in a future.
Yeah, and um, suffering more with thoughts of the future and what I could make out of a number of potential different solutions. Um, so that was interesting, that I hadn't really considered that I look at music in the past like that. Whereas I would say the other facets, I tend to look ahead, and I'm scared of the potential, I would say.
But the scared, so I'm just the feeling. Can feeling be in the future?
No.
So if there are thoughts about things not going swimmingly in the future, whether it's career, income, relationship, music, etc., can the thought be true? So if there's
Uh,
thoughts, I'm afraid
no.
of how to let
Well,
go.
the thought is conceptual, even though the feeling is present. I understand that the thought is conceptual. Um, I just wish they'd let up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would enjoy some more thoughts related directly to what was in front of me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of so many thoughts that I know are purely conceptual, right? Like, I'm sick right now. with a sore throat. Once you have a sore throat for 6 days, what do your anxious thoughts do, right? They go, you're going to die soon. You should totally look up your symptoms and stuff. It's like, I know this is all conceptual nonsense, right? So why don't we get fed thoughts that are more centralized in where we are, you know?
Or how to do that.
Yeah,
Right?
or how to do that.
Thoughts. So all there is attraction. And thoughts aren't an exception. So if there's an experience ongoing of seemingly ongoing, or really one after another, of thoughts that are discordant, that don't feel good, the focusing on one thought that does feel good changes the momentum. And now the next most likely experience is another thought that feels good. And it's almost like if this hand is the discordant thoughts, right? And then this hand is the good feeling thoughts. It's like if the momentum is like this, and then there's just, it's taking a deep breath, relaxing, and picking a thought that it even is very, very trivial. This is a true example from a while back that just popped in my head, so to speak. But when I would wake up, as soon as I started realizing this, that thoughts are attracting thoughts, and I wanted to just have all good feeling, insightful thoughts, and I would purposefully start that attracting immediately when I woke up. And for probably 30 years, the first thing I do when I wake up is make a cup of coffee. So I would literally just look at the mug and appreciate or experience appreciative thoughts about the mug, like the texture of the mug, the fact that it held the coffee. I mean, how could I drink the coffee without the mug? It was everything, right? The handle, it's whoever designed it, it was brilliant because it totally fits the hand. And it's even made with a material that keeps it warm.
Oh man, you're cracking me up.
Right? But it feels really great. These are simple, appreciative thoughts about a coffee mug first thing in the morning. Then it would just be something else and something else and something else. Then 20 minutes later, I would go outside after 20 minutes of just thoughts, good feeling thoughts, attracting good feeling thoughts. And I'm telling you, it was like I had never been outside before. It was just like, oh my gosh, has this been here the whole time? All these trees, this air, all the sounds, the birds.
I have a lot of experience in that, and the way that I see it is that you kind of notice details that you don't really notice before, and it's kind of those micro details that paint a much more lovely, bigger picture. And I do the same thing, maybe a walk, and just something arises in me that allows me to appreciate something that I would normally take for granted, like a flower, or just the feeling of the sidewalk, like the fact of the sidewalk, maybe the fact of the sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I see that a little bit. I don't know how to bring that about, because if thoughts in general are just a rising and falling phenomenon that are kind of seemingly random, at least in my experience so far, then when I wake up, my doubt is like, well, why would the first thing that happens be one of these detailed, smaller, appreciative thoughts, and not just any thought? Because it appears that any thought arises, you know?
Well, I'm glad you're sitting down, but it's because it's not random at all. it's like if you picture, and I'm just using my hand to kind of give a visual explanation as well. It's like the thoughts are a vibration that starts at my heart, and right here it's not really a thought, it's still just a vibration. It's becoming a thought, but it's not a coherent thought yet. And then by the time it gets up here, it's condensed, and now it's a albeit apparent, it's one specific finite thought, right? So here there's in the heart there's no such thing as a thought at all. And literally of the heart, and I mean this in a literal sense, is it might sound nuts, but I mean it very literally. the heart bees the thought by vibration. And by the time that vibration reaches up here, it's condensed or refined in that it's discernible as a thought. Is it an actual separate thing? No, which is why thought appears and disappears. It appears. It's a vibrational appearance. It's like there's a resistor transistor right here. So some thoughts come up and there's resistance to those thoughts. They all do have a absolutely grounded source, which is the heart. But some are nonetheless resistant. And then when the transistors open, there isn't resistance. And then when it's closed, there's resistance. So they're not necessarily random. And that's another way of explaining how the experience of thoughts is that thoughts attract more similar thoughts, whether if they're discordant or if they feel really good and are aligned with the heart. It's not random. So it can, at any time, the momentum can be changed.
And I can see how it's a momentum building thing in my direct experience and in past experiences. I can see how you can spiral either direction, right? So that makes sense to me. With this resistor, what is the mechanism that opens or closes that?
So this is a bit of a pushback. I'm not trying to be combative or anything, but
that's okay.
What you just said is the resistance. So the thought comes up that in my past I've experienced that, and there's nothing wrong with communicating it. I don't mean it that way, but that is the resistor. So is there such a thing as a past?
No, but something in me insists on making sense of it one way or another.
Well, if the question was, is there a unicorn? Would you say no, but something in me insists on making sense of it one way or another? Or would you be satisfied with just no? Are there unicorns? No.
I can't pull from any of my concepts that there are unicorns. So I would say no. And I know that I'm just being resistant to what you're saying. I understand that now that you've caught me out. But yeah, I would say no. But I would also find a way to say that.
Oh, sorry, it froze for a second. You would also find a way to say.
I would find a way to say that those things don't compare, because if I can look in the past that I've built momentum and spiraled one way or another in thought patterns, to me that doesn't compare to there being a unicorn, because I can't even conceptualize an idea of the past with a unicorn. I can much more easily formulate the other side.
Well, go to the past. Like take a minute to actually leave the present and go to the past. And then in any way at all, it could be what you see, what you hear, how it feels, in any way, note that, and then return to the present and share what the past is like.
Because I don't have this experience that a lot of people tend to have where they say that the past inspires um, visual thoughts for them. I don't have any visual thoughts. I've never had a visual thought or an auditory thought or another sense perception arises from the past. I have none of that ever arise thoughts of the past. I merely have the concept basically dictated by language that it took place. And so when you say to like to explain it, it's I can't. There's nothing there. It's all concept. But there is still concept.
Well, but I'm not saying a concept about the past or to explain it. I'm saying to literally go to the past.
I could never. I wouldn't be able to.
Is what direction would you even go in?
You couldn't go in any linear direction. The first thing I would try to go right here in this space between the eyes, but I know that I'm not pulling the past from there, no matter how hard I try.
And is the trying, even if there was the trying to go to the past, even if it was in a mental capacity and somehow, is the trying occurring right now? I mean, if you were trying, if you tried right now, is the trying occurring now?
Seemingly, yes, but it's very fruitless.
Right. Because there simply is no past. If there were, we could experience it in some way. We could go there, we could see it, we could hear it. So there's thoughts about the past. Is the heart ever in the past? That's not a trick question. If there's no past, can the heart be in the past?
I was getting distracted by some negative self-perception there that arose when you said that. No, my heart cannot be in the past.
But there can be thoughts about the past.
Yes.
But is there any experience of thoughts in a past?
No.
And then likewise, can the heart be in the future?
No, only my thoughts can. But I would like to say something because now arisen twice. The heart being anywhere does not make a whole lot of sense to me yet. I think I'm perhaps looking at it rationally. I don't see how like vibrations arise from the heart, because to me that I can't quite pinpoint what that experience would even be like. So my heart can't be in the past or the future, but then again, I'm not quite sure where it is at all, or if it's even a player in a full purpose.
Well, it beats as a slow vibration. If it stopped, then there wouldn't be any circulation. And for a brief minute or two or three, it would be super, super clear that the heart was here and now.
That's a really interesting way to put it. That frames it a lot for me.
Good. Yeah. It's a vibration.
It's a really interesting way to look at it. And a lot of my moods are dictated by the way that my heart is beating, it seems. And that may just be an anxious thing, but if I have a fast heartbeat, if I have a fast heartbeat and the situations are not ideal, this is my first indicator that something is not okay. And also, if I'm trying to sit to do nothing, or to just do vipassana, the beating of my heart is the most uncomfortable sensation I have. That I find it to be incredibly uncomfortable.
How so?
it's like I know I have like a morality ticker inside of me that I appear to be out of control of. And the moment that I place my awareness on it, I either detect something that I assume to be irregular, or it starts to go faster and I don't have any say in it. The heart appears to be something that I don't have any control over. And I know that's an illusion in the grand scheme, but this one's incredibly close to home.
Mm-hmm. How do you know it's an illusion?
I accept that as a dogmatic conclusion by the people that I see more well versed than I.
You might be. That's a perfectly honest and forthright answer, and
That's where I am.
In my opinion, you're very much shortchanging yourself. The usage of illusion for the heart beating is not accurate. That there's a heart beating is not an illusion. There's a heart beating. The illusion is the someone who's not in control of it. Not to imply that there is someone who's in control of it, but the heart, the body, the brain, and the thoughts are not illusory. They're apparent. They're an appearance, a vibrational appearance. That then there's thoughts that arise, like the thought, I chose the tomato soup. That self, that chooser, that doer, that controller, those thoughts believed then constitute the illusion that there's a separate self in any way, but typically somewhere inside the body. So it's not that you're in control of the heartbeat, and it's not that you're not in control of the heartbeat. It's that you're being the heart and the heartbeat, and you're being the thoughts. If you're being the body, being the heart, the beating heart, and being the brain, and being the thoughts, is there any problem so far with the notion you're being this?
No.
So without adding anything, is that in and of itself alarming, or does that feel scary, or anything uncomfortable whatsoever? Without adding anything, just that you're being this.
No. That's not uncomfortable in itself.
Does it feel like a load off that there isn't somebody else that in the sense you're being the body, right? Including the heart, including the thoughts, you're being all of it. And there isn't that separate additional self which is responsible for it.
Yes. That feels like a load off, but it feels like I'm responsible for it. Ow.
And earlier I said, are there thoughts in a past? Is there an experience of thoughts in a past, or are there thoughts about there being a past? And after trying to go there, it was clear that there is no past, but there are thoughts about a past. But then when I said, is there an experience of thoughts in the future? You said yes.
There's an experience of thoughts about the future.
Right.
That's how I would refine how I feel about that.
But so do you see that the heart doesn't leave the present? The mind also doesn't leave the present, but But in believing thoughts, it can seem as if the mind leaves the present.
Yeah, I I can understand this too. I can't see if there's something that I need to do to apply that right now and moving forward, or if I just need to understand that's the way it is, because I can understand that's the way it is it, very clearly right now, you know.
But more so than the way it is, the way you're being. As in the reason that we can't go to a past or a future is because and the reason that the thoughts about a self don't constitute a self, but when believed, they seem to constitute a separate self or an illusory self. The only self that there is only ever present and is always present. It's not dual, so it's not the self isn't sometimes present and sometimes not present. The self is what presence is, and is what's being: the body, the heart, the thoughts, the air, the walls, the entirety of experience.
I'm not thinking, I'm just looking around. That makes sense to me. I would silly thought I have. I say that
Well,
makes sense to me. I would just hate to stop understanding it. Like I would hate to lose that feeling for in the future. So it
well,
felt pretty good right there. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yes, I do. I do, and it does. How could you lose it? Let's try. I mean, the best way to have no concern that you could lose the self, which feels so good, is to try to do it on purpose. So how would you go about losing the self, which is being the person, the body, the heart, the thoughts, the air, the walls, the whole experience? How could we lose the self, which is being the whole experience?
What I don't understand is why do we don't lose it, right? But why do we kind of like shade over it with
Mhm.
concepts and forced sense perceptions? Why? I understand, like, it's so fundamental and raw that it cannot be lost. That's like very apparent. But how do we lose it? We lose it anyway. I lose it all the time anyway.
Well, it seems like it. That won't happen anymore, though. What would it be for your arm to lose your hand?
That's a trick question.
I mean, is it possible? I mean, short of an accident and it, be accidentally being cut off or something, I guess you could say then the arm could lose its hand. But can the hand lose the arm?
The hand can't lose the arm
Right. And why not?
because it's one is more fundamental than the other.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
So a more specific attempt to lose the self would be to be unaware.
Let me make sure I'm understanding that correctly, because that's so is So what is the point of practices then? Because I feel that way when I practice. I feel as unaware and in suffering than ever, right? So
When you do practice like meditation,
yeah, when I do a practice to connect with awareness, yeah.
then from the practice, you're saying you then feel unaware?
Uh, I don't feel unaware. I just feel more. Maybe I would say I feel too hyper aware and that it's uncomfortable, or that I'm because of that I'm unaware of what is actually the foundational awareness layer. And I deduce from what that if I'm anytime I'm making an attempt to head into awareness, that I'm kind of missing the mark.
Right. What happens when right now you try to intentionally be unaware?
A thought arises. I am attempting to be unaware right now,
Mm-hmm.
like
And
a narrative.
are you unaware of that thought?
No, I'm very aware of it.
All
I
right.
can read. I read the whole thing.
Try harder. Try way harder. Right now, be unaware.
Well, I can't. I can't do it.
So is it very clear? I mean, is it truly clear that you really trying is in whatever way to be unaware and finding that if a thought comes up, I'm aware. If I'm looking for where to go to be unaware, I'm aware of the looking. If I was to start walking towards wherever I might be unaware, I would still be aware that I'm walking.
I think maybe a mistake that I've been making, you can help me find out if this is correct, is I think I've been taking um like meditative states, like what others are calling awareness, and I'm confusing it with um a concept of unawareness. Because when people say that they're at peace, they found, just like being with awareness and presence itself, that I think that my mind is framing that as in some sort of sensory release, some sort of sensory offload, like all the way offloading, like a spacelessness, right? And so I think that when I tell myself that I'm seeking awareness, because that's what I have been told to seek, that
Mm-hmm.
I am looking for sense perceptions and thoughts, and not a continuation with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that still sounds more appealing at my current stage. I would much rather have the relief, because that's a very convenient. And I enact the seeking for that short-term solution in a number of ways, right? Whether that's substance abuse, or abusing my attention span, bombarding my attention span, right?
Mm-hmm.
So am I getting that incorrectly, that what they're pointing to is not a lack of perception, but more of a harmony with it?
Yeah, definitely the harmony. So to start at a most fundamental, I mean, what you're saying strikes me as right on, but to go most fundamental and sort of to back out of it and then end up there, start with the simplest question: are you aware? And then, are you aware that you are aware?
And that acts to be that seems to be a guide to, I wouldn't say center, I don't know, but that I can see how that's a that shifts you right back into the bare material of it, if that makes sense. I can
Well,
see
it
how that
doesn't.
question brings you.
Yeah. So in terms of like communicating to share what the experience of awareness is like, that makes perfect sense. In terms of meant more literally, that there is a you which is in and out of awareness. Is there, since you just communicated those thoughts, right? That is the evidence that there was awareness of those thoughts. So one way to draw it out, bring clarity is, whenever there are thoughts, that there are thoughts is known, because there is knowing of the thoughts, or we're aware of the thoughts because there's awareness of the thoughts. And now reverse that and think awareness.
And that essentially for me feels like being able to locate where my sense perceptions are, and what thoughts arise, and seeing them from like a I don't want to say a higher perspective, but just seeing them from a more removed perspective, to where they're not dictating, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to kind of tune in directions.
But what? So, but I'm not exactly sure if I'm getting what you're saying in the way it's meant. So let me try this, the same thing. So by default, there's awareness of thoughts. And there's really nothing that we need to do, even if we try to. Like if somebody said, I'll give you $1 million if you can on purpose be aware of thoughts, you're already aware of thoughts. You can't do it. It's already the case, right? And then what happens when you try to put the thinking? So awareness is aware of thoughts. So awareness is prior to thoughts. Whatever thoughts come up, awareness is aware of it. Now try to reverse that and put the thinking first and the awareness second, and think awareness. And not think about perception or sensation or perceiving. Awareness and just awareness. Think awareness.
It's hard for me right now, because it feels like either a muscle that's not developed, or that I'm thinking in the wrong direction. You say think awareness, I literally think awareness. Like the word awareness arises,
When the
and
thoughts
that's a
sorry, when the thoughts come up about I, and then fill in the blank. So when I say think awareness, then thoughts come up about an experience.
not exactly. no like I thoughts arise, and nothing even like a judgment on a present thing arises, at least when I do it. It just what arises is the thought of the word awareness. I feel kind of stupid saying that, because I know that's not what you're looking for.
Well, no, that's perfect. What else could there be? So the point is, in trying to think awareness still, as always, remains prior to that activity of thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So then, but then there's a thought about a self which is other than the awareness, which is doing it wrong or isn't quite getting it, but is awareness still aware of those thoughts?
Absolutely. It's totally prior to any of those, and it everlasts any of those thoughts by magnitudes of infinity.
Yeah. Right. So can the thoughts about I'm not doing it right, I'm not getting it, there's more that I should know, can any of those thoughts ever be true about awareness? Because that would be thinking awareness.
No, not about awareness. No,
And
I can.
awareness
Sorry, go
is
ahead.
most prior. So no matter what thought it is, awareness is aware of the thought. And if the thoughts are about a self, which is getting it wrong, can do it, can't do it, did it, didn't do it, isn't doing it well enough, doesn't know enough, is awareness still right there prior and aware of any of those thoughts?
Yes.
And where is the self that the thoughts are about?
Well, fuck, I have no idea. I can't really locate that.
And then the thought comes up, I'm paraphrasing, I have no idea. Where is that one that has no idea?
It was only a thought, you know.
Exactly. In direct experience, awareness is still right there, most primary, never coming and going, and aware of that thought. Try, for the sake of actually creating some discord, feel the thought, I'm not the awareness. I'm not the awareness. The awareness is not me.
Yeah, there's like a and I'm not the type to usually say this, and I am skeptical of it, but there's like a trembling vibration that is not like the thought doesn't complete very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hesitate to say this because I'm just not that guy, but I may have to be. I do feel a discordant sensation.
Right. And the reason that this discordant sensation is felt with awareness and that thought is because you're not that.
Sorry, it's blowing my mind because it's subtle, but I really appreciate even something that's subtle at this point.
Yeah. Well, and it's always subtle. As you said, that the awareness is orders of magnitude of infinite or infinity. Also, another, it's just a word that points, but it's um, it's a solid pointer. Not only is awareness infinite, but it's unconditional. So picture I take my son when he was 11 years old, let's say. I take him to a park. It's not like a Disneyland size theme park, but it's not a tiny neighborhood park. It's kind of a middle park, right? Can still basically see where he might go. And picture two scenarios and tell me which one feels better when you put yourself in his 11-year-old shoes. Um, One is that I ordered one of those retractable dog leashes, but that are sold for kids, the kid leash, right? I put that around his waist. It has 30 yards of slack, and I tell him, you can just, go around this way. I'm not going to lose you. Yeah, it's limiting, but I can move with you. When I feel it tug, I'll move in that direction, and you can otherwise just feel free to explore the new park. Or if I just say, you know what, I'm going to be right here. Unless you want me to come play with you, I'll do that too. But otherwise, I'm going to be right here. You go explore, go wherever you want in this park. But don't leave the park, but have a great time. Climb everything, go in every tunnel, have the time of your life. Go ahead. Which scenario naturally feels better?
The second scenario feels a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I can still see where the parents who might subscribe to the first scenario are coming from, but
Yeah.
that's not the point.
There are some who would say I'm more comfortable with that first scenario.
Yeah, but I see how not the point when you're framing it in the sense of like, what am I providing to my son, which I love, and you're
Exactly.
giving him the unconditional experience, the unbound experience as regard instead of expectations towards what he can do.
Right. Yes. Very well said. So, one answer to the question, why does it seem like and this is a paraphrasing as to how you worded it, but why does it seem like I lose myself or like I lose that awareness? And then if in practice, maybe it's there, albeit subtle, but then in my day, I just sort of forget or I don't feel it, right? It's, it's because it's unconditional.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to think of a way to say that, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like it's unconditional. Build nuclear bombs unconditional. It's Hitler unconditional. I mean, it's unconditional without
It
limit.
unconditional in the sense that it doesn't feel any specific way all the time. It doesn't behave any specific way all the time.
Right. And for there to be this specific way, then there would have to be in contrast to this other specific way or this way and that way. And those would be conditions, and it doesn't have any conditions. It's unconditional.
Ah, yeah. Well, this is going to sound like a stupid question, but then like, what is a fella to do? You know,
Well, the
because
good
I
and
have this.
sometimes perplexing answer is whatever you would like.
Yeah, I suppose so.
In terms of in life, right? You cannot be without the awareness because the awareness is what's being the you referred to. or more specifically, there's the thought that there is the you that awareness is being, but there is no you that awareness is being. There's only the you that is awareness.
And I see how that is one of the things that gets shifted around in a lot of people's experience. That's like the fundamental mistake. That's definitely my fundamental mistake.
Well, it
Is
can't be
thinking
your fundamental mistake.
that shit. Yeah, you're right.
But
You're right.
there's two ways that is met. When you notice the thought, and it's like at first the thought seems like a separate self or a me, and then it's noticed, oh, it is a thought. And again, I'm the awareness, which is aware of the thought. There really is suffering and humor. There could be something said for a spectrum in between, but to put it simply, it's either this situation of reality, it's either suffering the thoughts or recognizing the absurdity, just the sheer absurdity.
Okay. I was trying to somehow, I guess I could say I was trying to make those things into illusionary concepts, like they weren't real.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't.
The concepts themselves are an appearance.
Yeah.
And even concepts are not illusory. They're apparent. They appear. They're a vibration. They appear. A concept is a vibrational appearance, and the carpet is a vibrational appearance. This body is a vibrational appearance. The thoughts are a vibrational appearance. It's not an illusion. It's a vibration. And if you figure, like, if you had this much space to work with, how much vibration could you really pack in there to like make something, a screwdriver, right? Let's say you wanted to, like, if you could control with technology, if you could control a space like this to vibrate the air to make it form a screwdriver, it'd be pretty amazing. But then what if you have infinite, just infinite in, infinite outward, infinite this way, infinite that way, no end? Then there wouldn't be any friction, resistance, gravity, limitation. There would be no restriction whatsoever, no limitations whatsoever, and you would have infinity as far as space, so to speak, for vibration.
I could ask you questions forever. I want to make sure we're still good on time here. I think I'm over.
No, it's 3:23, and I think we started at 2, but no rush. Let 20 more minutes, maybe.
I could ask so many questions for a number of days before I even began to deconstruct whatever the hell I'm thinking. When you say, geez, what did you just say? I've already lost it. I love that nature of thoughts. Oh boy. Why is it that awareness as we are seems to be able to attach to ideas that make it small and not infinite and susceptible, maybe not susceptible, but attached to certain negative emotions and feelings, right? Because you can really feel that boundlessness when you're feeling that primary feel that. I don't know what else what I would call it, but you can also feel extremely constrained when you're removed from that primary feeling, and like you amalgamate finite chunks that are just not so negative, or not so good and are negative, or are merely just small and like humanizing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that has to be possible in infinity, but I don't understand why that appears to be the default state. I guess it's not the default state. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just where we end up. I guess I just don't like that.
Well, what's a state?
It is feelings, experiences, sensations in the moment.
Mm-hmm. So if feelings, sensations, and experiences in the moment are feelings, experiences, and sensations in the moment, what's a state?
Awareness.
But if awareness is awareness, and awareness is aware of the thought state or states, what's a state?
I guess I was just trying to imagine the canvas that those things, emotions, feelings, sensations were painted upon. And so I thought awareness, but a state would just be a thought of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, a conceptualization of um,
Handling and then a judgment upon.
well, and the word experience, it, points to the entirety, points to the whole. It's non-specific. Feelings, it, in direct experience, notice again that there's not a succession of thoughts. There's a substance. Let's just use the word substance that appears as a thought, and then it's no longer appearing as that thought, and then it appears as another thought. Like if I say purple cow, there's likely some kind of thought about a purple cow. And then if I say two jet fighter airplanes, one of them flying upside down above the other one, now that thought appears. Some kind of image or something, some thought appears about that. And the purple cow one, that disappeared. And now there's the two airplanes. And then if I say a horse in front of a red barn, now the airplane thought disappeared, and now there's the horse in front of the red barn thought. Do you notice there's really just the one thought at a time?
Yeah, I've never thought two things at once.
And then has there ever been an experience of two feelings at once?
No, I don't even know if I can have a feeling and a sense perception at the same time, or a sense and a thought at the same time. They, as I've learned through Vipassana, seem to arise sequentially, one at a time, or at least that's about as fast as I can keep up with them.
Thoughts or feeling?
Well, thoughts definitely. Feelings are more subtle, but definitely thoughts and sense perception.
So one way to look at like I'm sure you've heard awakening, enlightenment, and the term reality as it is, and probably see those as all kind of synonymous. They're all used in the same way. So conceptualizing wouldn't that there are concepts would be reality as it is, but conceptualizing reality would obscure or cover or veil reality as it is, because I'm experiencing a concept about reality. But if I was to peel away the concept, now I'm more directly experiencing reality as it is. That makes sense. So like when I say the taste of a strawberry, is that a concept or is that the taste of a strawberry?
That's a concept.
And then so if I tasted a strawberry, I would immediately find that they're incredibly different. The concept of a taste of a strawberry, it's fine. And as far as reality as it is a concept, and that's fine. But if I confuse that concept with the taste of a strawberry, now I'm confused essentially.
Yes.
So states is a conceptual confusing of thought, emotion, and feeling. So thought, emotion, and feeling are not directly experienced as reality is.
Yes.
There's an overlay that kind of obscures me from the direct experience for whatever reason, right? I'm not saying it's a should or a shouldn't, but for whatever reason, there's something in emotion or thought which I essentially veil from myself by conceptualizing it with a term like states.
Okay, so just in a basic sense, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say I stub my toe, I fall down, idiot in my head, and then I tell myself I'm in a bad mental state right now. This is a bad mental state.
Mm-hmm.
The reality as it is were those things as they happened, and the reality not so much as it is the that me calling it a state.
Right. When you use state, which again you're free to do, it's a self conceptualization. So
Yes.
the direct experience or reality as it is that awareness is aware of the thought, I'm in a bad mental state. That's a thought that awareness is not in, but awareness is aware of that thought. So then in believing in states or believing in the thought that there are states, I'm believing and I'm in a state. But clearly in direct experience, there's the thought and I'm aware of it. I'm not in a state.
Yeah, because that's not a thing.
Right. It's a conceptualization. It's not anything actual.
When you stubbed your toe, that's definitely a thing.
Well, and it's not a separate thing. It's a sensation.
It's not I don't look at it as a separate thing, but I do look at it as in something that occurred prior to any filtering of it.
Mm-hmm. If you were going to go backpacking for a week in the woods, right? Hundreds of acres and you've never been there before, but there's no such thing as woods. So you be the woods. You literally just be an infinite and formless. You just be the woods. And now there is woods. Would you, in your infinite intelligence, would you make it such that you can just walk in there and get lost and starve to death and suffer and basically the whole trip sucked? Or would you put some kind of fail-safe to help?
Yeah, I would, but if I correct me if I'm just taking this somewhere that I'm not supposed to, but I would make it very neutral.
Mm-hmm.
because it's still possible to starve and get lost.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing that's possible. That's not how I would do it.
Right. And like,
if I were infinite, not if I were me. In my forest, nobody starves, but I don't call the shots here.
well, but here's why sometimes somebody's going to starve in your forest. I mean, there's lots of reasons why somebody might not. You can make note of where the sun is and go in the same direction. You can know, to get out of the woods, or if it's night, you can mark the North Star, etc. Right? There are these subtle perceptions you can use so that you don't end up lost in the woods and starving. But yet, still, it happens sometimes. And why does it still happen sometimes? As soon as you be the woods and the guy who can traverse and hike through the woods, you've completely forgotten your infinite self. It's almost like, where did it go? What people are talking about our infinite being. What are they talking about? And then if you weren't being the woods and the guy, now there's no experience, but you're obviously knowing yourself as infinite. And then, right, just like when you COVID wise, when you are home quarantined on the couch, it's okay, but after some number of days, there is an inclination to go out and do something. Go talk with somebody, eat food that comes from somewhere other than your house, something, right? And then you do, yeah. And if you keep at it, tell me if I'm off, but around 2, 3, 4 a.m., you start thinking, it'd be real nice is just to be back home again, maybe pajamas and a blanket and comfy, right?
Yeah.
And then so you do, and it is totally comfy and there's no problem at all. But after a while, then you start thinking, it'd be cool to go out and meet somebody, maybe somebody that there's some chemistry with or something. So then you go out and then you do that for a while, and then, right, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 7, 8, depending on who you meet and how it goes, 9, 10 in the morning. But still, there's an inclination to then be like, you know what? It would be nice to just go home and kind of chill out and veg and stuff. And then, so same thing. If you be a forest and a guy, it's like, man, I forget myself. How do I know myself? The only reason that you forget yourself is because you're being a forest and a guy. So there can be the experience, so you can go out, right? Feeling and the stubbing the toe and the states. When you, so to speak, direct your awareness back on itself or inwardly, do you notice the presence of sensation?
No, not particularly, because the sensation already takes place by the time I can do that.
Well, is there right now the sensation of the bottoms of your feet?
Okay. When you put it that way, like I have an itch on my butt right now, I can be aware that I have a sensation arising. Yeah.
And then what about not a specific sensation like an itch, but just that there is sensation, and that it's present in every inch of the body, from head to toe. Is there the presence of sensation?
Yeah. Anything else, for sure, there is that.
Sorry, what was that first part?
I said more clear than anything else. That is what there is. Yes.
Right. So now keeping attention inward or awareness back upon itself, is there any edge at all found in sensation? So thoughts might come up about the body, the skin, where I feel the seat. Those thoughts might come up, but in noticing those are thoughts, and then just returning awareness back to itself, putting attention back on sensation. In sensation only, is there any separation or edge found at all, anywhere?
I would say not, because even when there's sensation, even when there's things that aren't touching another object, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm. And is the experience by returning awareness back upon itself inwardly, and specifically upon feeling or sensation, is it as if we're turning up the volume of it? Is it more pronounced than in your typical day-to-day?
Yeah, I can't say if that's just an illusion or not, but it does seem more pronounced. Yes. I mean, you really can feel the little things that way.
Well, not yes, but not the little things, and also not an illusion. The illusion would only happen of the thought, of the conceptualization. So either there is or is not the presence of sensation.
Good point.
And then either there are small things, as in parts of sensation, or I'm checking sensation and I can't actually find separations. I can't find where it begins. I can't find where it ends.
Yeah.
And just in bringing awareness, let's say, off of the objects that it's normally on, which could be a screen, a phone, a person. It could even be like the woods or a beautiful sunset. All objects, relationships, substances, all objects. And bringing awareness off of objects and back to itself. Do you notice how it's like sensation is present? It's always present, but it's overlooked. And then when you notice, okay, now I'm going to do the opposite. Now I'm not going to overlook. I'm going to just, I mean, there's no doing there. It's not an effort, but just bringing awareness back to itself. It's almost like the dial goes up and there's a lot more sensation. There isn't really more, but because it's not overlooked now, it's more pronounced, or there's a fuller experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. When I said little things, I didn't mean like fragmentally little things, but like you do overlook maybe the feeling of your feet on the ground, and this
Mm-hmm.
this is not like that. There is no overlooking a feeling.
Mm-hmm. So in keeping awareness inward on sensation, how does it feel when I say that that's the same as feeling? That's sensation and feeling are just two different words, but what they really point to is that.
It's extremely helpful. I'll say that's extremely helpful.
And if there's no separation found, if there's no edge found, if there's no beginning or end found in sensation, which is to say in feeling, is there then really a plural or a plurality of feeling, such as feelings with an S?
I see what you're saying.
Is two distinct sensation found?
No, I can see some reason I can see what you're saying right now. No, it's just sensation.
Right. And it's not even the word sensation. It's just to communicate. It doesn't, there's no thing.
That's not quite it. Yeah. That's not quite it. Yeah.
Yes. So if there's no separate sensations found and feeling is synonymous, right? Then that's feeling, but there's no plural. There's no feelings. There isn't this feeling and this feeling, or this sensation and this sensation. It's only found when we go inward or bring awareness back to itself. There's sensation, there's feeling. And there's not two found, there's just the one found. And even saying one almost kind of implies it's a separate thing that has edges and stuff, but that's not what's, that's what's thought, but that's not the direct experience of returning awareness to itself and that amplification of sensation / feeling. So what states as a concept does is takes experience, thoughts, emotion, and pluralizes feeling as feelings, and it just puts them all under one conceptualization called states, and it's really leaves us with a lot of confusion as compared to recognizing that presence of sensation. try to be without it. Like, try to take it off like a coat and set it on the floor next to you.
Can't do it.
And even if you did, and then you check to see if it's present, it's present.
Yeah.
And even if you,
that's so true. Because you can get pretty close, but then you check and you're not that close.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or far. But
yeah,
you can think, you can get totally mentally 100% outward attention on something. But if you do happen to check, is there still sensation right away? There clearly is. There the whole time.
Totally. Wild.
So then there's feeling. So let's sensation, feeling, but they're one and the same, or not two, right? But it's easier linguistically to just say they're the same. Then there's an experience of thoughts. So going back to the beginning, the heart as sensation or feeling. Not that sensation and feeling are localized, right? Not that they're in the heart or coming from the heart, but just a way to hopefully bring a lot of clarity to what is sort of the underlying aspect that then relates to the relationship, the career, the songwriting, all of it, right? They all have one. It's like they're all different shades of the same underlying experience. So if the heart were this formless sensation, formless as in we can't find any edges or borders in feeling, in sensation. And also there's an experience of thoughts. And nowhere in there is there a doer. I can't rightfully, honestly claim that I'm making the heart beat. I can't turn sensation on and off. I'm not doing sensation. It's present. I'm not doing it. I can't stop doing it, even which proves that I'm not doing it. I can't start doing it. It's just present. I'm not making thoughts arise, right? Thoughts just arise. Emotion is the variance in between.
Interesting. Would that be the like the thoughts harmony or discordance with the heart?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
This reminds me of one of your videos, but I still haven't fully absorbed that principle yet. Of basically, the fact the thought feels bad is precisely the reason it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I believe was the principle from that maybe second or third video.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the 10 ox picks at all, or even heard of it?
I have, yeah. I got them. That's my pinned tweet because I love them. I think they're cool.
So here's one interpretation or one way of saying, when the ox has been seen. In one way, it's great because it's very liberating and clarifying, and in another way, it's now seen how, not that there's a doer of the work, but how different reality as it is compared to the conceptualized experience, right? And it clarifies how much conceptualizing there is to let go of.
Yeah.
Go again to sensation, feeling, and turn it off. And then as soon as you notice, yeah, it's off, there is no sensation anymore, then let me know.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can do that. I don't even know if I can do that when I'm unconscious. Can you do that? You can't do that.
No.
Yeah, there's no way that you can do that. No, yeah, there's no way.
Right. Can't do it. Can you make it like leave the body? To just get a break from it, just make it kind of go in the other room. Is there anything at all that you can do with it?
There's no that I'm not. The conceptual me is not calling the shots at all in that regard.
Right, and also, it's unconditional. It's present. It's always present. It's ever present, and it's unconditional. So if you're ever not quite caring for how you're feeling, do you notice how quickly thought hijacks feeling and claims all kinds of things to be true about feeling? And there isn't a single thought that's true about feeling. There's never been one. There's never going to be one. So if you are having quote, I don't really care for the term negative emotions because that's a concession to the separate self or to thought hijacking feeling and saying it's not just unconditional. The thought says it's positive and negative.
Mm.
But do you find positive and negative in sensation? Do you find two in any way at all?
At least I can get stuck here. You took me on too well of a ride. I can definitely get stuck here because I can immediately create a judgment that a feeling I'm experiencing or an emotion I'm having is bad. Like, for example, I have a sore throat right now, Phil, and I don't see even the neutrality in the situation. I don't like the sore throat. It sucks.
Well, if there's neutrality, then there isn't unconditional. Neutrality is not the same as unconditional.
True. Neutrality is a condition.
Yeah, it's not positive and it's not negative, so there's just by the implication, there's three conditions.
Yeah.
But in sensation, there isn't. And there's no random. So it's not random that we're talking. It's not random that you are experiencing a sore throat.
How else can I reach that conclusion exactly? How can I?
So going back to if you be the woods and the guy, so there can be the experience of going through the woods, having an adventure or whatever, and the stubbing the toe. If you couldn't feel stubbing your toe, do you see how the odds go up a lot, especially hiking if there's like rocks, small boulders, tree stumps, etc. The odds go up that after some number of days, it's going to be very difficult to walk, because if you're only using perception to look at those stubbed toes and you check once or twice a day, they're going to be beat up pretty bad. But if you but the direct experience is if you stub your toe once, you feel it, and you feel that if you hit it pretty solid, you feel the pain of it. Do you see how that is essentially you, right? Infinite you, which is being the woods and the guy, are a giving or being guidance. Like keep your body intact. Don't continuously rock your toes off of tree stumps and rocks, or you're not gonna be able to walk around the woods much longer.
I definitely can. Interestingly enough,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I was conceptually trying to frame it or logically understand it for a few days. It's frustrating that you don't immediately know what the guidance is toward, like with because you just can't be given a clear sign, I suppose. But I do see how that kind of I don't want to say like it keeps you within like a realm of bounds, but it does keep the process moving, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, the guidance can only be towards one, so to speak, thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to belittle the guidance in any way.
No,
I'm
you're
just saying
right. You're right.
It's intrinsic. It's not like guidance from a guidance counselor, or that I might give my kids about the first day at school, or how to make friends, or how to have confidence. It's not quite. I mean, it is that. It's that guy. It's everything. It's that guidance too. But it's it can only be if there were two infinities, there could be guidance to somewhere else, and that somewhere else could be the second infinity. But by definition, infinity is infinite, so there's not two. So the guidance would be essentially the truth.
And therefore the guidance plays out kind of regardless.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, that's what I got from that at the end there.
Yeah.
You don't really need to know where it's going.
Well, it's unconditional.
It's unconditional.
So the guidance is really more interested in where you're going and helping you to get there. If you wanted to get to the lake and it's through 10 miles of woods, there is guidance. It's the sun, right? And the direction, there's guidance there. If you want to get to recording a song, there's guidance. There's guidance for anything. That's without any condition whatsoever. And it's felt. So again, there's the sensation or guidance, and then there's the thought. And if it's like, so there's a reaction of, oh, I don't like how this feels. But then if you pause and say, wait a minute, that's believing a thought about feeling. And then if you check feeling, is there any discernible properties whatsoever? No, it's present. It's always present. It's very alive, or aliveness, right? Very real. It's very, very real. And then it would be, okay, that thought doesn't feel good. Just like stubbing my toe doesn't feel good.
Good point.
So then there's fun in why doesn't that thought feel good? Often it's, well, because really the thought's masquerading as about how work is going to go today, how this relationship will go. But really the thought's about me. And it doesn't feel good. Well, it therefore isn't, as you said earlier, it's not true. How do I know? Well, I don't need to know. I feel it. If I stub my toe, how do I know that that's not ideal? Well, I don't really need to know. I feel this toe stubbing.
Yeah, and if you had the awareness, you wouldn't follow that or recreate those conditions.
Mm-hmm. But you would create what you want to create, and you would feel the guidance just basically saying yeah, and then you might have a thought of hurting yourself or somebody else, and then you would feel the guidance say no, that's not at all. That's still me. It's you're missing it. It's not somebody else. It's still me. No. Any last question?
No, you took me much further than I thought I'd be able to go today. I thought I'd still be in the realm of separate problems, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel a completely different sensation than even opposite from the ones that I thought that I wanted to combat today, right? So,
oh, good in a good way.
Yeah,
right?
in a good way.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
Absolutely in a good way. In fact, the only thing I can really complain about right now is that my throat is sore. I don't really care so much about the other problems right now at all. So I don't have any more remarks, and I really appreciate your time. When I found out you were doing sessions again, I was like, well, shit, I gotta. Well, I don't know. I could just. It is very, very nice to talk to you, Phil. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, you as well. I have a suggestion for you.
For sure.
If you, after we hang up, if you just say some good thoughts about anything at all, it could be about yourself, it could be about the music, it could be about relationship, it could just be about the room, it could be about just stuff that's in the room. But if you say them, like literally this dummy down, this simple, I really do like that chair. No, there's no conditions. I'm not expecting it or wanting it to be other than it is. As that chair over there is, I just like it. There's a painting on the wall. I like it. Is it my favorite? No, but I like it. I like that. My favorite. That's not my favorite. There. I like it, and I don't want it to be anything other than what it is. Your throat will feel better and better and better.
Man, you are one of the funniest people I've ever met. And forgive me that I've only found that out today, but man, you had me crack.
Awesome. Well, it was a lot of fun.
I will absolutely do that. I've started working on that, but this really helps to have it be confirmed. I guess that's kind of the direction that I could move in. So really great talking to you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, man. I really appreciate your time.
Awesome. You too. Have a great one.
All right. See you, Phil. Have a good day, man.
Bye.